Gun Violence Prevention Month. It's dedicated to raising awareness and promoting prevention efforts. Tonight we focus on that second part, prevention, specifically when it comes to our kids. I want you to look at these numbers right here. According to the latest data from the North Carolina Child Fatality Task Force, firearm-related deaths among children have more than doubled from 2013 to 2022. Important to note here, those numbers also include suicides using a gun. And in a 2024 report from researchers at Johns Hopkins University, North Carolina had the 12th highest rates of gun deaths for people ages 1 to 19.
Talk to your children. Talk to your children about gun violence. Because we undoubtedly are not talking enough to our children because it's still continuing to happen. We need to talk to our children.
Guns in our communities are the #1 killer of our young people due to injury deaths in the state of North Carolina. That has overtaken car vehicle deaths in the last year. And the major reason for that is that we're seeing that a lot of those guns are kids are getting access to those guns from either their parents or they're stealing them from vehicles.
And we got to pay attention to this. In the North Carolina Youth Risk Behavior Survey, look at this here. 30% of middle and high school students say they could get and be ready to fire a loaded gun in less than an hour without an adult's permission. But it can happen accidentally and with children even younger too. Just this past weekend, a 2-year-old boy in Charlotte was seriously hurt after being shot with an unsecured firearm. Last year, a 3-year-old in Charlotte died after finding an unsecured gun and shooting himself. Over the last year, the North Carolina Department of Public Safety says 5 children under the age of 5 died because they got access to a gun that either a sibling or friend used to harm them. It's both intentional and accidental shootings that prompted the Department of Public Safety to introduce S.A.F.E Week 3 years ago. That stands for Secure All Firearms Effectively, and it's taking place right now.
There is responsibility for lawful gun owners. That firearm is a weapon. We do remind people of that frequently to please secure those firearms, keep them away from minors, keep them away from criminals.
Important to note, not storing your gun safely could land you in legal trouble as well. North Carolina's safe storage law says any gun owner who lives with a minor and leaves their gun easily accessible to that minor, knowingly or unknowingly, can be charged with a Class 1 misdemeanor if that minor has the gun on an educational property, say a school for example, they show the gun in a public place in a careless or threatening manner, causes injury or death with the firearm, or uses that gun to commit a crime. The North Carolina Child Fatality Task Force wants to take the law a little further and make it applicable to gun owners who maybe don't live with a minor but leaves their gun around one. That could include people who leave their guns unsecured in their cars, which DPS says is a growing problem.
We're asking you not to leave them in your vehicles. Please don't leave them unsupervised in the vehicles. Please not leave them on the front dash of your car. In the state of North Carolina last year, we had over 400 guns stolen from vehicles. Of those vehicles, 60% of those vehicles weren't even locked. And we want to prevent those guns from getting in the wrong hands, either in the hands of a young person or in the hands of a criminal in your community.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that right here in Charlotte. So if you have a gun, there are multiple ways to lock it. That includes a gun safe. That's the most secure option. A lockbox, a gun case, a cable lock, or trigger lock. Many local law enforcement offices offer some type of gun locks for free. Biggest message here from the Department of Public Safety this week is to not let the thing you bought to protect your family be the thing that harms your family. Coming up.